This is Dave Brixis,
And this is Joe Cleasy.
and we're here with the CFA edition of the program. Another great week in youth football in the Harrisburg area. Some good games, matching up with some good teams, some teams that are undefeated, first, second place in their conferences. Definitely got going this past weekend. We saw some good things. Got a nice write-up from the Cedar Cliff game. They played actually St. Joe's. Apparently the midget game was a double overtime game. St. Joe's apparently had some incredible running backs. Couldn't be stopped. Really had to put a lot of stuff. They put a lot of pressure on Cedar Cliff early, who was undefeated going into the game. But Chase Steele, once again, having another fantastic game, throwing 3 touchdowns in the second half. But St. Joe's continued to pound the ball. Went to overtime. In the second overtime, Cedar Cliff scored through the air. St. Joe's pounded the ball all the way down to the 1 foot line. But on 4th and 1, Cedar Cliff came up with a big stop and held on for the win. Shout outs going to St. Joe's running backs, Dubas and Centurine, and for Cedar Cliff playmakers Deal, Whalen Carter, and Yanovich. And Cedar Cliff right now at this point still undefeated at that midget level. You know, they just keep doing what they have to do. Sitting at 6-0, which is awesome. St. Joe's was right behind them at that time. You know, they were in second place. They still are in second place, but you still got under that other bracket. You still got East Penn, still at 6-0. And you got Middletown right behind them, and leading into this weekend, guess what 2 teams got to meet up? You got Middletown playing East Penn, which will be a big test for East Penn because they were off this past week, you know, with the forfeit game against Steelton. So it's going to be interesting to see how they respond after that week off. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not.
Exactly.
You know, you never know how teams are going to respond that way. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see this weekend what team comes out on top. Does East Penn stay number 1 and, you know, hold on to that number 1 seed? Going to the last game of the weekend, or last game of the season, I think, which will probably be, I think, Cedar Cliff. I think they'll have to play one of the last games here.
I think it's a couple more weeks
left. Yeah, so they'll be playing towards the last game of the season here. And, sorry, there's 3 games left. And so it should be interesting to see how everything shapes up in that national conference in the midget area.
All right, and actually staying in the national conference, got another write-up from Seven Sorrows.
Always good.
Coach Bob Stone, thank you. At the Smurf level, looks like the Eagles outscored the Rams. They don't keep score. But a couple names to mention, Donovan Thompson, Matthew Gilhole, sorry if I said the name wrong, Jamar McKinney, Jaden Maple, Julius McMichael, and Braden Dunn all made good plays for the Smurfs. But Seven Sorrows, let's go to the Pee-wees. Seven Sorrows with a 20-13 win over Good Shepherd. Let's see, Thomas De La Cruz had a pretty good game. Have a whole bunch of names here, Coach, but I'll go through them. Marcus Beasley, Jake Heckman, Jordan Matter, Braden Davis, all had pretty good games. And Ryan Souders as well. So good job to the Pee-wees for Seven Sorrows. Going to the Ponies, they didn't fare so well. They lost 36 to Good Shepherd, but Zach Canfield had a pretty good game for what I'm reading here. So, you know, better luck next time. And at the midget level, Seven Sorrows came out with a close win over Good Shepherd.
That was their first win this year.
Was it?
Yeah, his first win over Good Shepherd, who had 1 win. So now both teams are sitting at 1-5 here.
Yeah, it looks like they won that game 20-14. A couple players with some shout outs. Looks like LeVron Woody, he scored a touchdown. Devin Martin, he also scored. And sorry if I say his name wrong, Devin Vazda kicked a couple good extra points. From a defensive standpoint, Mario Karate also had a pretty good game. So I just want to thank Coach Stone once again for sending in the write-ups.
We appreciate that greatly.
And he knows it's only several weeks left, so you know we definitely encourage you to send in any game reports, especially towards the end of the season and during the playoffs too.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I mean, just getting back to here, some big games that happened this past weekend. You had Holy Name taking all 3 from SWAT Air. They're getting prepped for their big game against Coleman Valley this weekend at all levels there, which will definitely be a big test. The Ponies, Holy Name Ponies are 5-1 leading that conference, but right behind them is Coleman Valley at 4-2. You're going down to the midget level, same exact thing. Holy Name sitting at 5-1, Coleman Valley in second place at 4-2. So this is a big game to see how that standing is going to hold on that side of the bracket. Are they going to be able to, stay up and stay number one. Holy Name controls their own destiny right now. If they beat Cumming Valley, pretty much they can win out that side of the bracket. As everybody else down there, the Broncos, the Tigers, the York, they're all sitting at 1-5 in that midget level.
Yeah, and Harrisburg Packers, the only undefeated team right now.
At that midget level, yeah.
6-0. And like you said, seeding's going to be pretty important.
Yes, I think it's going to be very, very important.
Actually, it's like Central Dauphin and Holy Name are both 5-1 right now.
Yes.
So, Central Dolphins probably looking at that Holy Name Cumberland Valley matchup like, okay.
And they still got to meet up. Central Dolphins still has to meet. And, thing about that, it's like even though I know it's only 2 years that this league has been formed and stuff, but that's kind of a rivalry game. These two teams play in each other's almost backyard.
Yep.
They probably pull from a lot of the same kids. A lot of the same kids probably cross over. Some kids that are Holy Name will eventually go on to CD, play there, vice versa. Some of the kids will go to McDevitt, all over. But, that's going to be one of those matchups here probably in 2-3 weeks when these two teams match up. So Holy Name's got to stay focused on this game coming up against Cumming Valley because that's always a very good disciplined team. And they got to take care of business this weekend and then worry about, headed out after that.
And, just staying at the midget level in the federal conference, as you see, only Greenwood and Juniata right now are 6-0, and Northern and Boiling Springs are both 5-1 right now. And they're all in the same division, which is kind of crazy. But, when the seedings come, it's going to be the top 8 anyway. But it's just interesting to see that.
Yeah, all coming from that same area, from that same that side of the division.
Yep, and as you mentioned earlier, big matchup coming up this week in the National Conference, East Pennsboro, Middletown. You talked about it before. Middletown has a pretty solid program on all levels right now.
Yeah.
Each one of their teams are top 3 in their respective weight class. So, that's a big testimony to the coaches down there right now. They're doing a pretty good job. Bouncing back from last year where the teams were, they weren't doing as good as they're doing this year.
Yes. So they really righted the ship down there. You guys still give a shout out to the Pee-wees down there at York. Mm-hmm. Once again, another shutout. I think they've only given up. I think there's only one game I think I can remember that they gave up any points, but they just won 41-0.
And they're scoring a ton of points per game.
So
I don't want to put the score out there, but they scored a lot of points last game.
So they're definitely the class, I think, of that division down there in York at that Pee-wee level. But you never know what can happen in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And, with only 3 weeks left, like you said, they're trying to get themselves set up for the seeding in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I know they're starting to get all the schedules set up for sites for some of these teams and things like that. Some of these teams will host games. So, if they can get it and they get a home game, it's always nice. But it's definitely those seedings that you want. And that's what these teams are playing for right now, trying to make sure. So a couple of these teams are controlling their own destiny. Mm-hmm. They just need to finish out the season like they've done all year so far.
And, at the pony level in the American division, it's a big log jam right now for the number 1 seed. There's 4 teams, and maybe I have to go back and look and see who beat who so far. But there's 4 teams at 5-1 right now. You got Harrisburg Packers and the Harrisburg Broncos, Redland, and Holy Name all at 5-1 right now.
Well, I know Holy Name lost to the Redland, so I know that's one of their losses. And they beat I know the Packers lost to Holy Name. And I think the Broncos also lost the Holy Name. So it's going to be interesting to see because right behind them even you got Cumming Valley, who's right in that same area. So this is it's becoming interesting now. Teams separating themselves in the divisions where you still have 1 or 2 teams that are top out there, tight at the top, but then some of these other the conferences below they're starting to fall down. They're starting to take their beatings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You want to see how much they have. I like to see competitive football all the time, especially in the playoffs. So I want to see what everybody has because you never know what happens. Just because you're in last place or the A seed or whatever it is, you never know. I mean, anything can happen on that given day. You have rain or whatever. Maybe you pull out that win. But I know a lot of these teams are now trying to vie for that number 1 seed.
Yep, and as you said, on any given day, anything can happen. And he's a kid, so
yeah. Getting them sometimes fired up when you're the number 1 seed and say, hey, we blew this team out. This will be a joke. And, they might blew them out during the season, but now they might take them easy. Yep. And you never know what can happen. So it's keeping them focused is going to be a key going forward here. And I know a lot of those teams are getting ready. And this is, I think, a tough part of the season when you really think about it. I mean, you've been playing. These guys have been playing, practicing since the end of July.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 2 months playing. You're starting, the 3rd month. You're starting October. Sometimes you get complacent. You're waiting for those playoffs to come along. And if you're number 1 seed and the team's right behind you, sometimes you get complacent. So we'll see how they finish out. There's still 3 games left, still 3 weeks left, I think, before we start those playoff run, and then chance to the Super Bowl, which I know they solidified all the spots and everything like that, which is great to see.
Yep.
And I know they started to solidify all the games with the Turnpike Classic. I know.
That should be another great event as well. The Senior Bowl, the Turnpike Classic, championship games. I mean, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's like a festivity.
Months.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's like a big festival almost, with all these teams getting together, doing what they got to do. But please keep sending in your information. I know some people are still doing it, some falling off. Definitely continue to send the stuff in. We'd love to give a shout out, to the players, to you guys, for all your hard work, all you coaches out there, all you reps that continue to do what you guys got to do, all you Waymasters. I know you got to weigh kids in all the time. The announcers, I know I get out to the Lingelstown game and they have the announcers up there, announcing the game, which is great.
A couple of the teams, they have DJs coming out now, so.
Oh, wow.
And the weather's still nice out, so,
and it's supposed to be, well, we'll see how this weekend is, but I mean, up to this point, it's been perfect.
Yeah.
They can't ask for better weather. It's not been hot, not too cold. No rain really, except for the one weekend where it poured down on Saturday night. But besides that, they've had great weather. So we'll see if it continues this weekend and see how these teams fare. But I know the big matchup definitely in the conference is Middletown there with East Penn. And I know Hoyne Ames got Cullman Valley this week. Mm-hmm. So we'll want to see what all levels where these teams are going to fare out.
All right. And before we let you go, just want to remind you, we have the Pennsylvania Elite Football Academy coming up this winter. Kids from 6th to 8th grade on up.
Yep.
Might take the young kids. We don't know yet. You want to check paswag.net for details. Upcoming weeks, and most likely you'll see us at some games once the playoffs start as well. So, if you have a kid on your team, or if you're a parent watching this, and you want your kid to get better, improve his skills on the football field, and just in general, definitely come to the Pennsylvania Elite Football Academy. And you can email me at paswag7on7. That's PASWAG, the number 7, ON7, at gmail.com.
Or you can send me an email at E as in Edwards, X as in X-ray, S as in Sam, P as in Paul, at Verizon.net. So EXSP at Verizon.net. You guys can get the information here. I know last week we put this up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Got the information out, so we'll get it up as quick as possible again. So you guys have it, plenty of time to view, send it off, send it out, share it, whatever. Pass it off to your team so they can see as well. Just trying to promote the youth here, all the hard work with the coaches and the players. So we appreciate it. We want to wish you guys the best of luck this upcoming week. I know it's going to be a big week for a lot of teams here to keep that seed, that number one seed, in their conference. A lot of these teams control their own destiny. They just keep winning out.
Yeah.
And we'll see how some of these teams on the lower tier, if they can make themselves into the playoffs. Some of these teams are going to be vying for, can they get in the playoffs? So it's going to be interesting to see. But good luck this weekend. Best of luck to everybody. Enjoy it. Work hard. Continue to unleash that potential. And this is Dave Brixius.
This is Joe Ecclesi.
And this is the program.